Be tough, don't crack, and always do well and face atrocities with grace. Is this what resilience is? People telling you to always do things the right way, people telling you that life's failures are inevitable and therefore we should take them in grace. And if it is so, how do we do that? I'm going to be exploring these questions using three of my stories and landing in a lesson slash conclusion with each of them. And the first one is passions. I'm sure everyone has passions at some point in our lives, but I think passions are specifically and certainly more important when you're a high schooler, when you're trying to figure out what to do with your life, but also when college admissions is hanging by your shoulder. You always need to find that one thing. Maybe you care about pets, you care about animal abuse, maybe you care about sexual harassment, maybe you care about the environment. And you always need to pursue that one thing with resilience and with passion. And this is one thing that I faced to be a little bit challenging when I visited my college counselor at that time. How can I find my passion when I've nothing to experience? I'm too young to figure out my passions by now, so how can I? And to be very honest, I'm not sure if I figured it out. I certainly know that public speaking is my passion. I certainly know that unequal access to healthcare is my passion. And I continue to express these things in speech competitions like APSC. But there are always things to figure out. And the lesson that this taught me was that there are many, many things that you can take passion in and you can take resilience in. But how do we figure out what that one thing is? And how do we make it work? So let's move on from that. Secondly, I want to talk about debate. Now, it's kind of similar to passions, but debate is more specific. I'm more of a debater than a public speaker, and that's because I like to think with logic. I like to do things impromptu, and the thrill of it is just insane for me. But I have my fair share of, failures. Just last weekend, I had a debate competition in which I didn't break in. And that was frankly the first competition where I didn't break in. So that was definitely a shock for me. And I may or may not have cried in that instance. But the thing that taught me is that sometimes resilience fails. And although you want to be resilient at all times, you can't push yourself to do that when it is very, very atrocious. The things that happen are catastrophic, at least not in the sense that a person from another part of the world would feel like it would be catastrophic in the same level, but it is catastrophic for a certain person with certain values. And pushing someone to have those same values as yourself and face them with resilience, that's ridiculous in the end. And the third and final thing that I want to talk about is life and death situations. I recently finished a book called When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, and essentially the message is you're a dying man, but you should face death with dignity. And in that moment, I thought, well, shouldn't resilience be easier when you're faced with mortality? Shouldn't fighting to keep yourself alive be a lot easier than to find resilience in than some other area which you're not actually passionate about? Because life is life, and if we don't have life, we can't pursue all those other things. So it made me realize that maybe there are certain things that it's easier to find resilience in, easier to find resilience in. Sometimes it's you can't know it before you come to realize it. You can't know it before you experience it. You can't know it until you've faced that person's experience, the same way that Paul Kalanithi died due to lung cancer and was trying to pursue meaning in his life. So therefore, it should be easier. And that was my third lesson. But I think it can be all summed up to that saying that essentially we all face failures. We all know we face failures. But resilience is essentially saying that you're going to face those failures, but in the end, enjoying that process so that you don't necessarily have to crawl back to your original spot, but you trip and you smile and you get back up. And it doesn't matter how hard that may be, but we can all try. Thank you.